So Metal Gear Solid Delta, am I excited about it? Am I optimistic about it? Do I hate the very thought of it? We're going to cover all of that in this video. But before we get into it, I do want to say thank you to everyone who's been showing support, liking, subscribing, commenting, all that good stuff. I really do appreciate it. If you're not yet subscribed, it would really help me out, and I would really appreciate it. So thank you guys. Getting into it now, am I excited about Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater? Well, let's go back in time a little bit for this announcement. And if you were to ask me back then, before this got announced, if a remake is at the top of my list for what I want for Metal Gear and this franchise going forward, it probably wouldn't have ranked very high on my personal list. There are quite a few things that I would like Konami to do with a bit more, I guess, precedence. Primarily bringing MGS4 to modern consoles or PC or whatever they can do. It is possible. We've been able to play MGS4 and even MGO2 on an emulator. Of course, it requires a pretty beefy PC, but it is possible to run it through an emulator. And that would probably rank the highest for me. I don't know if that's their plan or if they've already achieved that through, another collection, since we're only getting the Master Collection Volume 1, which includes MGS 1, 2, and 3, and also Metal Gear 1 and 2. I don't know if they've already done that internally and they're just waiting to iron out any kinks and put it on the next collection, but that would rank probably the highest for me. Suffice to say, remakes aren't really at the top of my list ever. I have so many different versions of Snake Eater that I can go play. I can go play the original release. I have a copy of Subsistence. I have the HD collection. I have the Legacy collection. So it's not something that I desperately need a remake because I just don't have access to the other games. I'm lucky enough to have my PS3 still in working order, knock on wood, that it lasts me a while longer. And I also have my PS4 and a PC and all that good stuff, but I do get why some people would be excited over a remake and why that would rank at the top of their list, especially remaking such an iconic game as Snake Eater. But for me personally, that wasn't what I was really hoping for. And it still kind of isn't, but we'll get into that later. Now that it's been announced and it's real, we aren't getting thrown, for a loop like these last 3-4 years where every other month it's MGS1's getting remade and MGS3's getting remade, and it's going to get announced at the VGAs, it's going to get announced at TGS, it's going to get announced at E3. We finally have seen something. It's real. It came from an official channel from Konami. And yeah, so at this point, if you were to ask me, I am pretty excited for it. I am happy that it is real. Not for the reasons that I mentioned before. I don't really need a remake of Snake Eater to go back and enjoy Snake Eater. Mostly because it's got people talking about Metal Gear again. It's got people creating again. I mean, I'm a perfect example. I haven't made very many Metal Gear related, I guess, content in general, streams or videos for a long time. So this has got me creating again. This has got me thinking again. It's got me talking about Metal Gear to my friends that I met through Metal Gear. And it's got us all excited again. And that's what really kind of reinvigorated me. And it has me excited more than the actual game itself. As far as how I think it's going to turn out, like I said, I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm not one of these people that thinks that if Kojima's gone, it's going to be horrible. Kojima does bring a standard of excellence and a bar of standards and quality that he always demands from himself, from his team, and from his games. But that's also not to say that there aren't still talented individuals left at Konami, and also just in the video game industry in general. I don't think this is a job that only Kojima could tackle and do well. I do think that a talented group of individuals can remake this game and make it a successful remake. Something like what Capcom's been doing with Resident Evil, and a lot of companies, right? A lot of companies have come out with remakes in recent years. They're all the rage right now, which is why this is a good idea from a business standpoint for Konami to do this with Snake Eater, and kind of test the waters and see how Snake Eater goes and how well it does and how well it sells, to see if they're then going to touch MGS1 and MGS2. But yeah, so if I were to sum it up, I am cautiously optimistic about it. We haven't seen very much of the game at all. that trailer that they showed was not how it's gonna look. That's just obviously a mock-up, a CGI trailer. It's not running in engine. It's not the actual cutscene. It's not an actual cutscene from the game or anything like that. The only actual game-related material that we've seen, as far as I know, are the screenshots that they posted on the official Konami website, and they should be playing behind me throughout this video, along with the trailer. But just from those few screenshots, I mean, we've gotten to look at Razvet, we've gotten to look at a crocodile, the Dolinovno bridge, stuff like that. All those environments look really good, and it looks like they're just trying for a one-for-one remake. That's the other thing, is we don't really know what their goal is with this, right? We don't know if this is literally just basically a remaster, a glorified remaster, where it's the same exact environments, the same exact guard placements, the same exact well, I shouldn't say the same exact mechanics, as they do have to change the controls around a little bit, and we'll get into that. That's actually the next topic that I want to cover. But we don't know what it really looks like, or what their end game is for it. We just know that they consider it a remake. It's a, how do they put it? It's a faithful remake or something like that to the original. So they're not gonna, hopefully they're not gonna change the story up too much. And my main aspect of the game that I want to see where they're taking it are the maps. I want to see how they tackle that. If they're gonna make it, you know, individual little sub maps, like the game, you know, like how it works in the original release, where you start in Dremuich, what is it, South, and then you go into the Dremuich Swampland, and then Dremuich North onto Razvet, right? Or if they're gonna take, like, let's say Dremuich South all the way to Razvet as one map, without loading screens, without any interruption in gameplay, something like Ground Zeroes, where it's a decent sized map, but there's no, you know, it's a sandbox. You can tackle the different various zones however you want, and they just keep the guard placements the same. I don't know. It's sort of exciting to think about where they're going to take it. I'm sure we'll see some gameplay soon. Maybe not, you know, hours and hours of gameplay, but they'll show something maybe at the end of this year, definitely sometime next year. So that's very exciting to me. It's a nice little segue into what Konami need to do with Metal Gear Solid Delta to make me happy personally. This is just for me, and that's make the game play well, make it feel good to play. That's my main concern. I'm the one weird Metal Gear fan that concerns himself more over gameplay and how that feels, and the stealth mechanics and the depth of the stealth mechanics over, you know, story or lore or the cutscenes or all that good stuff. That stuff's important to me, don't get me wrong. Like, if that were gone and that all those things weren't a part of the Metal Gear series, I probably wouldn't love it as much as I do. But I'm at the point where Metal Gear for me is about the way it feels to play. There's no other game like it. In my eyes, there's no other game or franchise that feels as good to play in a stealth environment with stealth mechanics than Metal Gear. So that's always been what brings me back to these games. And these games I replay at least once a year, if not more. I go back and throw on MGS1 or 4 or Peace Walker, what have you, or I replay the whole series. I revisit these games often, and the main reason for that is because they feel so good to play. Even with the wonky legacy old school controls at this point, they do feel really nice to play, and there's actually very deep stealth mechanics embedded in them. So for me personally, that's what I need. I need the game to feel good, to play well, right? I need it to have a snappy camera, none of this motion blur stuff that they just, you know, it nauseates most of us, and you know, the aiming has to be snappy and responsive and fluid. I'm not super, you know, purist, right? I don't have like purist ideals when it comes to the control layout and the buttons and stuff. Like, if they want to mess with the what is it called, like the inventory menus and the systems, you know, when you hold down L2 or R2 in a Metal Gear game, it comes up with the, you know, left side is your items, and the right side are your weapons. If they want to change that like they did with TPP and it's bound to the D-pad, like little minor changes like that kind of update the game and make it more fluid, that's absolutely fine with me. They don't have to keep legacy controls. In fact, I kind of don't want them to. These games aren't very approachable for someone who just started gaming recently, whether that's, you know, kids growing up now or just someone who didn't play through the original Metal Gear games and they aren't used to holding square lightly to raise your weapon and then holding it in fully and letting it go to shoot, while also holding R1 to look down your sights into first person view. Like, I don't expect people to wrap their heads around that, especially for something that is being remade for modern consoles, modern audiences. So when it comes to that, my ideals, and I'm not a purist when it comes to that. If they want to change up the whole control scheme, as long as it's modernized, easier for people to get into, and it feels nice and fluid, that's the main concern that I have. And that's what they need to tackle head on and do a good job with for me to be happy. So, having said that, do I want to see any changes to the story, to the dialogue? Like I said, those things are important to me, but they're not, make or break deal breakers. I don't want any major changes to the story. I think MGS3 is the perfect self-contained Metal Gear story. Like, if you're someone who's never played Metal Gear, right now, right? This is before the remakes. This is before the Master Collection comes out. If you're someone who's never played Metal Gear and I had to suggest to you a Metal Gear, it would probably be 3. And that's if you're not going to play the other ones, right? I'm a firm believer that you should play these games in order of release. So MGS 1 into 2 into 3, obviously. But if you're just going to play one Metal Gear, you just want to try it out, you don't know if you're going to get attached to the series, the one I would recommend for most people is 3. Because you don't need to know about, what happened on Shadow Moses. You don't need to know about the Big Shell incident and all that fun stuff. You just play it. It's a pretty straightforward story, some twists here and there, right? But it's a self-contained sort of story, right? And so I think they need to play to that and not make any major changes. Obviously, people love this game for a reason, but this might be where I defer a little bit from the path, from the hardcore Metal Gear community. I think they should add some stuff now retroactively, since most of us have played the Phantom Pain. And spoilers for Phantom Pain, if you haven't played it yet, I would skip ahead maybe like a minute or so. But now that we've all played the Phantom Pain, and we know, a bit more background, right? We know that the XOF unit and Skullface were actually present during the Virtuous mission and during Operation Snake Eater. So if they add like a sort of, Snake Tail type deal, for those of you guys that don't know, really quickly, Snake Tail's MGS2, you obviously play through Raiden most of the game, but they actually added this mode called Snake Tales where you can play as Snake and see what he's up to while Raiden's busy defusing bombs and all that fun stuff. You can actually play through some predetermined scenarios as Snake, and they're called Snake Tales. So something like that where you can maybe play as Skullface, play as his unit, clean up after Snake, see what he's up to during the Virtuous mission and Operation Snake Eater would be really cool. Or even if it's just something as simple as, what is it, Act 3, I believe it is, in Metal Gear Solid 4, where you're trailing someone, but if you look behind you at certain intervals, at certain moments, you'll see, what is it, like 3 dwarf geckos stacked up with a trench coat on following you around, Act 3. Something like that would be cool. Just a little nod of like, hey, Skullface is always watching. He's always behind us. Would be really cool. So little minor tweaks that retroactively fit the lore that we now know after playing Ground Zeroes and the Phantom Pain would be really cool. Personally, for me, I think that would be cool. There's some people that I know are like, don't touch the scenario, don't touch the game, the lore at all. But that is technically part of the lore now. So I'd like to see something like that. I don't know if Konami's going to do that or if they're just, terrified of us, rightfully so. The Metal Gear community are pretty cutthroat. So if they're just going to leave the game alone as is, I'm sure a lot of people would be happy if they did. But me personally, I'm a bit more lenient. They can take some artistic liberties and, there's some potential for some fun stuff there. And the final thing that I kind of want to get into is we're gonna cover this topic in a separate video in the future. But what I kind of want after Delta, and I kind of already touched on this at the beginning of the video, but we really need to get MGS4 off of the PS3. Like, I hope Delta does well. Do I want to see more remakes in the future? Like I said, I'm going to make a video about this. That's going to be probably my next video, is what I want Konami to do if Delta is a success, right? But I just really want some of these games that are stuck on the PSP or are stuck on the PS3 or, stuck on the Game Boy Color, right? Like, it would be really, really nice to have a full-blown just, master collection up to 5 volumes and have everything. I'm talking Portable Ops, Metal Gear for the Game Boy Color, or Ghost Babel, whatever it's called, where you live. Even stuff like Portable Ops Plus, obviously Peace Walker. We already kind of have Peace Walker on the HD collection, but screw it, bring it on over. It's always a good time playing co-op in Metal Gear. Hell, even something like Survive. I know a lot of people hate Survive, but bundle it in. Why not, right? Having everything, having the whole series, spin-offs, non-canonical stuff would be awesome. So I know everybody's hyped for the remake right now, but personally, like, after this remake, I really hope it does well. I really hope it lights a fire under Konami and, they start pumping out more Metal Gear stuff and giving us content and all that fun stuff. But give us all the games as part of collections if you want. Volume 1's coming out this fall, this autumn, which is very exciting. I can always go back and play these games on the PS2 if I need to, but it is exciting for people that don't have a PS2 or a PS3 or even a PS4 anymore, are primarily PC gamers or what have you. And it's exciting for, I have a friend that I've known since middle school who has never played this series, and he's very excited about picking it up for the PS5 for the first time and playing through them for the first time. So stuff like that's exciting to me. But I do think, give people the option. If they want to play through the entire series, the spin-offs, Acid 2, all that fun stuff, make it available to us. Make it easily accessible and easily playable, is what I want to see before any other remakes. But we're going to cover this topic in another video for sure, way more in depth. And the final thing is obviously, like, if they bring back MGO in any capacity, I'd be ecstatic. You know what I mean? Like, it means so much to me. If you haven't seen my video covering the IGN Japan interview, which should have come out before this video, make sure you check that out. Nothing too, it's not a huge confirmation that MGO or anything like it's coming out, but it kind of gave me a little bit more optimism when it comes to that as well, because they did say stay tuned for future announcements. They didn't outright say, like, oh, the single player game is our focus right now, and that has our entire focus and all our manpowers on that. Like, they didn't say that. They didn't outright say MGO's not coming. So whether that's an MGO 1 remake, a new MGO, something completely new like co-op, or it could be something as silly as a leaderboard, still, it has me excited, right? And that's what it's all about. So I appreciate you guys giving me the time. If you've made it this far, sorry for rambling, but I appreciate your guys' support. Once again, if you're not subscribed, it would really help me out. If not, just leave a like, leave a comment. Tell me, are you excited about Delta? Are you excited about the Master Collection more? Were you excited when you saw Snake pop out of the tree line in the trailer that we got? Do you hate the very thought and existence of this remake? Let me know in the comments. We'll start some dialogue, some discourse, which is always fun. But that's it for me, you guys, for this video. Like I said, I'm going to be trying to make a video every week, at least one. If it's an especially newsworthy week, I'll try to cover as much as I can. But anyways, guys, thank you so much. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one.